thought I'd go into some sixth house stuff in astrology. Obviously, in human design, you can also look at areas in your biograph that show you how you see daily routines, health, nutrition, exercise, these kinds of things. You can definitely see it there, but the sixth house in astrology, you can really see. That's what's kind of cool with both human design and astrology, because it shows you what you might be like or what you might do in certain areas of your life or even areas of your body, your mind. I find human design is definitely the most in depth into who you are as a person. So, if you want to know about your little quirks or, the things that you might struggle with, the things that you're really good at, again, it just depends. It's far more in depth and personal, I think, than the other two. Astrology is kind of an all-rounder. You can kind of see a lot about who you are as a person, but also different areas of your life, relationships, all sorts of stuff. And then numerology kind of gives you that generalized, there are definitely specifics, but it's more about, I find it's more about your purpose than actually who you are as a person. It might show some of your qualities, and I don't dispute that it does, but it's just not as in depth. So that's what's cool about these different avenues. But anyway, as I was saying, with the sixth house, this sort of shows you how you're going to picture health. Do you find this to be an easy topic, or is it something you just don't want to think about much at all, or in between? It tells you about what types of things you create habits about, the stuff that you do day in and day out, and why you do it. The same thing applies with work. What types of work suits you? There are other work houses. This isn't the only one, but because this is about what you do daily, it shows a lot about how you show up for yourself. Again, this house connects to Virgo. So this is all those little tiny details, the things that you have to really mull over, consider, work through, and why. And it can show how you see those things, why you do them, why you don't do them. Virgo, again, this sign can be very, very hard on itself. So this can be, you can get carried away with self-critiquing to the point where you just think, you know what? It's too hard. I'm not going to do anything. So this can be a vibration of this house. Again, it depends on what signs are in there or what sign as to how you're going to show up for yourself in terms of those daily things that you do. And obviously, I'm not going to go through every single one. I was thinking I might create a series about it, but I struggle with this kind of stuff because it's always so general. And I struggle with that with a lot of stuff that I see online. When we talk about generalistic things, like this is what all humans do. And look, I've been guilty of it myself, but it just doesn't work, because what one person does daily is going to be different to what somebody else does. And again, that can change even for that individual person. So sometimes looking at the generals of a sign in there, it can give you some context, but because we're just so much more complicated than that, again, one person could have, 4 planets and asteroids in that house. Another could have 6, and then another could have none. So, and I get asked that a lot on lives, what does it mean? Is it bad if the house is empty, like it doesn't have any planets or asteroids? And it's like, no, it's not bad. Sometimes it's easier, especially when it comes to the 6th house, but really any of them. It's not good or bad either way, but when you don't have any planets and asteroids, it's just that sign. So you can focus on those things. It just makes it that much easier to do what you need to do. But again, it doesn't have to be a bad thing if you have a bunch of planets and asteroids in there. It's not good or bad. It's neutral. It all depends on what you do with it. Just like everything. I'll give you some examples. I don't know. I'm trying to think of things that would fit into the 6th house that we could kind of unpack. Um, yeah, well, let's just say you grew up in a family where you were told that what you did just wasn't good enough. And this is such a Virgo sixth house thing anyway. But you were just told no matter what you did, it was never up to code, with your family's standards or society or school or whatever. And so again, it depends on the person. Some people this can motivate and they can go, you know what? Stuff you. I am going to do this the best I possibly can. And, yeah, it could be as a source of revenge or justice. But you know what? It pushes them to get it done. Again, that can take different forms too. Does this then lead them to being even more depressed for trying and then not achieving? Does it push them to go to higher levels? Again, everybody's different. It's going to show up differently. This can also show up as somebody who shuts down and thinks, you know what? I'm never going to be good enough. I'm just not even going to try. I'll just do the bare minimum and I'll get through it. This can also show as someone who doesn't listen to it anyways. They're just like, well, I'm just going to do the best I can and go from there. What else can I do? So again, it's going to reveal the way you're motivated, the way that you do things, and how you do them, why you do them. And this is good because it reveals what you're really like. And then I think you have the opportunity to work from that. Whereas when you don't have much clarity about what you're like in any given area, I mean, it's unlikely you won't have any idea. I mean, some people don't, but I think most people have some idea. But isn't it better then to really know your motivations? Like, what really gets you dedicated? What really lights you up? And is it doing the same things over and over again and achieving that steady working goal? Is it you need to do new things to be inspired, to try different stuff and to push yourself? Everybody's different. So it's about that understanding. And, even if you grew up being told that, or like that's the identity, it doesn't mean you have to keep it. It doesn't mean that you have to take that on. It's just that's somebody else showing you their issues with themselves or their insecurities or they feel like they're not enough and they heard that from someone. This is what can be difficult with these types of things because it can get passed down. It's in terms of like disease, it's highly contagious. Negative thought forms, if you're not solid in who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it, you can be susceptible to other people's, negative thought forms, limited thought beliefs. You can be susceptible to these things, and it can kind of get into your head where, if you don't and you know who you are. I got distracted because I remembered an example, and I'll tell you, but I sometimes I don't get too many rude messages or mean messages or whatever, but I did have one the other day that made me chuckle. Now, in the past, that's what was so funny. This was a confirmation of how far I've come. And these little moments are important. You have to cherish them when they show up. So I guess I triggered somebody on either I would say it was one of the lives. I've been told sometimes the ways that I say things in terms of how I view, and this might be getting slightly off topic, but I just want to give you a bit of context. I've been told that sometimes I can seem like a man hater. The truth is I don't. There are certain qualities about men that I don't really appreciate, but there are certain qualities about women that I don't appreciate. A lot of it has to do with our culture, our society, the things that are deemed to be seen as, okay, or a blind eye is turned to it. So I'm guessing I said something that made him think that I hate men, because that's basically what this person said. And the way that they said it was very triggered, Why don't you spend more time, doing something else rather than hating men? Something along those lines. And so number one, I don't hate men. I talk about men in dating because I don't date women. So I don't really have that perspective, right? Because I don't date women. I have dated men. There are women's behaviors that I don't enjoy being around, and it's easy for me to avoid because I stay away from women like that. The same goes, I would stay away from men whose behavior I don't appreciate, but it is just something I'd have to deal with more often. So that's, I think, what triggered him, and perhaps I revealed something within himself that he's not ready to face, and so of course he projected it onto me. Now, the part that's more relevant why I brought this up is he told me that I should go get a nose job because I need it. Now, when I was younger, I got made fun of for my nose because, look, I'm very Eastern European looking. And look, I don't personally, nowadays, I don't see a problem with it. I don't want to change anything about my face. I don't want to undergo surgery or any of these kinds of things. When I was younger, that would have really hurt me, right? That would have really upset me. But I actually laughed when I read it. And I thought, how interesting how far I've come. I ended up sending a message back. I don't normally, I don't mind sending a message. I wasn't being insulting. I more or less said that, I'm not going to change my face, and that, this person doesn't need to think I'm beautiful. I didn't insult them back. So this is my point. When you become solidified in who you are, and you know who you are, it really doesn't matter about what other people think. And that's how you have to get in all areas of your life, including the sixth house, your daily routine. So again, your health and how you see that, your fitness and how you do that, your work and how you conduct that. Anything that you do daily, it needs to become part of what makes you you, and how you work on those things day to day. So I only use that example just to show you these are the kinds of things that people say to each other. Now, I at no point was intentionally insulting anybody, and I don't want to insult anybody. I don't dislike men. I actually probably talk to more men than I do women, and I get along more often with men than I do with women. I have a very small group of friends that are female, but otherwise, pretty much the rest of the time, I'm talking to males. So if I hated them, I wouldn't talk to them. I have a great number of my following on TikTok that are males and that come on my lives. And, the ones who are there regularly, they'll tell you I have tremendous respect for these people. So it's incorrect. So again, I kind of went on to, a bit of a tangent, but I just wanted to explain where you go with this. If you're not solidified in who you are and the ground underneath your feet isn't stable, you can get pulled into something like that. Now, it doesn't hurt me in the slightest. It would have a few years ago. But it doesn't hurt me. I'm not upset. I don't think badly about myself. I don't think I'm less attractive. None of what he said was actually true or applied to anything I actually think. So it reveals those are his issues. And he has to either choose whether he deals with them or not, but it has nothing to do with me. And the only way I know that is because I've worked on myself. I've worked on what I do daily, what I put my time into. In terms of the sixth house, I've solidified my sixth house. So it doesn't bother me. And that's why I wanted to share these little nuggets of wisdom, because it makes all the difference when you pay attention to these types of behaviors and comments and whatever, because it helps you separate who's good for you to be around and who isn't. Because some people are just not going to be doing, you any favors or helping you in any way. And therefore, there's that point where you kind of just have to become a little detached from it, especially if you plan on being in the public eye. And considering I do this for my daily work, of course, that makes sense to discuss the sixth house. Now, I have created health readings, which, again, I will preface this by saying I am not a doctor. I know a great deal about nutrition and health. I've done tremendous studies, and I've also got, a diploma in terms of like an esthetician or a beauty therapist. So I am actually qualified to discuss health in terms of the body and the skin. And so I can discuss those things. In terms of an astrology reading, I would add those qualities in there to help a person, but I would also discuss their chart as to the areas in their chart that pertain to health, depending on the context of what they wanted me to help them with. Whether it was to understand why they can't get the results they want, or, why they have these certain things that they do every single day that take them away from what they want to be doing or should be doing or whatever. Again, it's the context is individual and it's unique. And that's what's so cool about readings. But obviously, I will make more videos here, and I will be setting up the paywall videos very, very shortly. I just have to finish getting a few more key points, then I'll start filming and then I'll load them. But I'll stay tuned here, and we'll keep going with the podcasts and the talking and all the rest of it. And yeah, put in comments if you want, discuss things and whatever. But I just thought I would share those few nuggets of wisdom